Right. I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Dr. Kedar.
Oh, thank you. It's not the strongest species nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one most adaptable to the change. This was a statement made by Charles Darwin centuries back, and it still holds true and will hold true till the universe lasts. So, friends, we are proud nerds of technical skills in quality improvement. Since last 3 years or so, we are into quality improvement. We have learned the art and uh, technical skills of QI, the tools of QI. Very well, we have applied it. We have got the results. We also understand that it is the system that is important and not individuals. So, what is the system? System is nothing but interdependent items, processes, and people working towards a common cause. So we know from our experience in QI that it is the systems and the processes that are responsible for the outcomes we get. Okay. So, but we also know that all the gains achieved by QI will come to stall if we do not focus on the adaptive side of human change, that is the behavioral change, and that is mainly governed by people. So we must focus on the people now. We have learned in the QI that initially we should focus on place and processes, right? And now we are turning ourselves 360 degree and saying that we also need to focus on people, because whatever the gains we get through applying the tools used in QI will come to halt if people don't change their behaviors. Okay, we take an example simply of hand washing. Everybody knows how to wash the hands. Okay, we have the structure, the resources for hand washing in every unit, every hospital. But our rates of hand washing are not up to the mark. Not only the compliance, but also the appropriateness of hand washing. So we are way behind, and that is why there is a rampant infection which spreads in the hospital, especially the NICUs and the OTs. Okay. So what is this problem? This is not a technical problem, isn't it? We know how to wash hands. We have the structures in place. So this problem is nothing but it is a problem of inertia and problem of resistance to change. And in order to answer to this problem, we need to tap into the power, the courage, and the emotional resources of our people to do the things differently, to commit to do it differently in order to sustain the change. And psychology of change framework by IHI, it also focuses on this particular issue, and it mainly stresses the importance on activating people's agency in order to commit people to do things differently. So we all know from evidence-based medicine that those inventions which are made, if they are applied reliably and scaled, that would save many lives and improve many lives. Yet, we also know that this benefit is only passed on to a small portion of patients. And the reason being it is difficult to disseminate and scale. Also, it is difficult to translate from experimental setting to the real world setting. And difficult to reproduce in different settings with heterogeneous resources. जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि ये कार का एवरेज देती है 20 का अंडर स्टैंडर्ड कंडीशंस, बट अगर आप हम एक्चुअली ड्राइव करते हैं तो हमें दिखता है कि वो 17 का एवरेज देती है, और कभी रोड्स वगैरह अच्छे नहीं तो उतना भी नहीं देगी आपको. So it is very difficult to reproduce in different heterogeneous settings. So why to understand psychology of change? So in QI, we work taking forward the evidence-based interventions. That is the what. We have just seen the example of hand washing. So we know that it is an evidence-based intervention in order to reduce the sepsis. We also use implementation strategies to achieve the outcome, that is the how. So we use all the QI tools in order to improve our compliance with the hand washing. But we often struggle with the adaptive side of change, which relates to the power of people, that is the who. And we also fail to sustain many times because of their motivation, that is the why. So अगर हमको हैंड वॉशिंग का कंप्लायंस बढ़ाना है तो हमको ये द हु एंड द व्हाई एस्पेक्ट्स इसके ऊपर काफी ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. Okay, tools are good. Tools will give us results. But if we want to sustain the results gained by the QI tools, we need to understand the adaptive side of change. We must concentrate on our people and their motivations. To answer this, the resistance of change, we must address the psychology. This is one of the lenses by Deming system of profound knowledge. Okay. Otherwise, the gap between what we know, the implementation gap, which was this much yesterday, it has grown to this much today, will go on increasing and increasing, become wider and wider, and the patients will suffer more and more. So we need to bridge this gap between what we know and what we do by addressing the adaptive side of human behavior. And as all of us know, there are common barriers to change. So there could be power struggles, or there could be lack of buy-in because of the lack of motivation. Sometimes because we do not get results early on. So that is why the people do not wish to change. And then so many times what works in one setting doesn't work in the other. So there are contextual issues. Sometimes we introduce too many changes at once. Maintaining motivation is the biggest problem. The strategies are confusing, so people are confused which strategy to follow. The communication problems are there. So there is a poor project management. And the other day, Sushil was telling you, the enabling environment. So there is lack of enabling environment. So environment itself inhibits you for adapting the change. So these are the common barriers. And what holds us back is the people. The rate at which the improvement spread relies at least in part on the people. And why there is a resistance from people? Because there is a fear of failure, of losing control, of moving from habit to uncertainty. So this is a famous innovation curve by Rogers. What he said is, in order to be innovation to be adopted by people at large, you need you need to have a majority accepting the innovation. So he said there are 5 categories of people. So there are the innovators, the early adapters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. Laggards is a traditionalist who will resist mainly. But the role of laggards is also very important. So we cannot assume them as the hindrance, but we need to work on the resistance provided by them. So the bridge between the early adopters, innovators and early adopters to the early majority, there is a big chasm. And in order to overcome this chasm, we need to have people who are motivated. And it is the people who will decide to change from uh, the early adopter to the early majority or the late majority. So it is their choice. So they choose to adapt to the change. Okay. And they go through all these transitions and emotions between resistance to exploration. So the initial reaction may be that of a shock or the anger, the frustration, the bargaining, and the fear of loss, fear of uncertainty. To then, once they start exploring, to experimentation, to hopefulness, to acceptance and understanding, and then integrating. And what is central to this change from resistance to exploration is the activation of people's agency. So people have different reactions to change. People will like it, people will love it, people will laugh at it. They might say, wow, they become sad or angry at the change. So depending upon the context and their behavior, there will be different reaction to the people. And there are many reasons, 10 important reasons why people resist changes: because of the loss of control, because of the excess uncertainty, because of some surprise. And they feel they are doing something in a routine from years together, and now it seems different. So they are also worried about their competence. And there are previous experiences which resist them from changing, and sometimes the threat is real. But friends, must we suffer from resistance? Yes, because resistance is good. Resistance is what we want. It's not a problem. We expect resistance because resistance indicates engagement with the change. It poses dilemma about how we will work together to address it. But resistance is going to make our changes more refined. So we need to embrace resistance and not ignore it. So Deming said in his profound system of knowledge that for improvement to be adopted at large, there are 4 areas which we must focus. So these are the 4 lenses of Deming's profound knowledge. So it is a system. What is a system? System is nothing but interaction between the structure, the people, and the processes working towards a common cause. So we must understand the system which we are working, the context where we are working, how the change, how it is operating. Then there are processes and variations in the processes. So we must understand what is a common cause variation, what is a special cause variation. So common cause variations means it is a stable system, and like every system is designed to deliver the results year after year unless we decide to change. So we need to work on the system to improve, to make the changes so as to sustain the improvement. Whereas in case of special causes, it's a special cause and it doesn't come as it's not a part of the system. For example, we are just having a special cause variation like COVID. So we are adapting. Okay, we need to work on that cause, either eliminate that cause or change our system. So we are currently working on both common cause and special cause. So trying to adapt to the situation. So we should understand the variations. We should not like be carrot and stick, just seeing the results which are random variations. Okay. Then we should use the theory of knowledge, how we make the changes and improvements. So the model of improvement or the point of care quality improvement methodology which we use, the PDSs and all that. So that theory is what we have learned, what we are teaching people how to use it. But we must focus on people who create the process. Because focusing only on the changes themselves and not on their effects on the people will doom the improvement efforts. Because ultimately it is the people who are going to act, who are going to work. So they are the important assets. So this figure is little bit haze, but that is what we just discussed, Deming system of profound knowledge. So the first lens is appreciation for system. Okay, so we must know our system, where it is working, how are the interplay between the people and the how are our processes currently working. We also concentrate on the psychology. So what is the level of motivation? What is the intrinsic motivation and the extrinsic motivation? How to engage the people in change? Okay, how to understand people's reaction towards change? So psychology is very important. Also, we must understand the variation, and of course, we are teaching everybody about the theory of knowledge, that is the model for improvement or the point of care quality improvement methodology. So if we consider each and every problem with these four lenses, and this there is no reason why should we not succeed in improving our situations, our outcomes. So what is the psychology? Psychology is nothing but it is a science and art of human behavior, especially as a function of awareness, feeling, or motivation. And what is change? Change is to cause different or to transform. And psychology of change is the science and art of human behavior as it relates to transformation or change.
मी इकडून जात आहे आता.
The science and art of human behavior as it relates to transformation, that is what is psychology of change. And it focuses on the people directly and indirectly affected by the improvement. It recognizes the inherent value in each person regardless of identity or position. So it recognizes the fact that every person, irrespective of its position in the hierarchy, has something to contribute towards change, towards improvement, by activating people's agency in the face of fear. So this is the framework all of us are aware about these 5 interrelated domains of psychology of change framework. Unleashing the intrinsic motivation, co-design, people-driven change, co-producing authentic relationships, distribute power and adapt in actions. So we'll study one by one. So what is agency? Agency is nothing but ability of an individual or a group to choose to act with purpose. So there are two components of this agency. One is power and the other is courage. So power is ability to act with purpose and courage is having the emotional resources to choose to act. अगर किसी को लगता है कि मैं एक पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में इम्प्रूव कर देख रहा हूँ और मुझे दिख रहा है कि ये सिचुएशन ऐसी है, इसको मैं इम्प्रूव कर सकता हूँ, ओके, तो वो मेरे पास पावर है. बट अगर मुझे अगर कोई चीज पे पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस मुझे रोकते हैं ये एक्ट करने से, सो मैं मेरा करेज यूज नहीं कर रहा हूँ. और अगर सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि मेरे एक पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस ऐसे है कि मेरे पास वो करेज है प्रीवियस एक्सपीरियंस, सो आई विल चूज टू एक्ट, I will choose to exercise my power. So we need to have both power and courage in order to activate the agency. So power क्या होती है? हम यहाँ पर जो power की बात कर रहे हैं, we are discussing the power in terms, not in terms of positional or professional. So it is a relational power. What is positional power? Positional power is hierarchical. जैसे superintendent हो गया, MS हो गया, matron हो गई, head of the department हो गया. Okay, so that is a hierarchical power. So उनके पास पॉलिसी बनाने के लिए, गवर्न करने के लिए, या है ना, ये सब पावर होती है. प्रोफेशनल पावर इज द पावर ऑफ नॉलेज और क्रेडेंशियल, लाइक MD है, DM है, MSc है, PhD है. सो these are the qualifications which have the knowledge, and that power is called as a professional power. But relational power is the power possessed by everyone in the organization to influence other. Okay, and it is produced by a set of interdependent relationships that can be leveraged to achieve a specific aim. So that power will depend upon the circumstances, upon the improvement problem which we are tackling with. So it will shift. Okay, and it is an interdependent relationships, and it is usually generated as people bring their skill, knowledge, experience, and capacity to act individually and together to achieve an aim. So this relational power considers everyone in the project involved, in the improvement process involved as a leader. So everybody has this power. And this agency needs to be activated at 3 levels. So at the level of self, at the level of interpersonal, so as a team, and at the level of system. Self में जैसे if I see something, so I decide to exercise my power. Okay, I have that courage. So I decide to choose my power and courage. So at the level of me, so I decide to improve. So what is interpersonal? It is like when somebody else sees that that person is using the power, So he gets his agency gets activated and he starts using as a team. So as a team approach, we start to work together towards a shared cause. So that is an interpersonal power. And what is the system level of agencies? So we create such kind of structures and processes and conditions that support the people to exercise their agency, use their power and courage across the institution and organizations. So all three powers are important, but having all three powers is not common in our situations. But even an improvement work can start at the level of self also. Then by seeing that person, it may get escalated to a group of people. So they start exercising the power. And if we provide them the system, the structures, the processes, the improvement can proceed fast. So we need to reframe this question. How can I get all these people to do what I want to do, or them to do? Two, how can I get all these people to do what they want to do? So total change of perspective. Okay. So that results in proper buy-in, people's agency getting activated. So it's useful for improvement projects. We need to look at the failures differently. So previously we were thinking that failure should not be acceptable, but now we should think that failure is a natural byproduct of experimentation. We had the beliefs that effective performers don't fail. We should change this belief to effective performance. We learn from intelligent failures and share the lessons widely. We should change our behavioral response from self-protection to curiosity. And the leader's job is not to prevent failure, but to promote learning. So we should learn from our failures, reframe the failure as learning lessons. So how to do activate this people's agency? So these are all 5 domains we have seen. And there are tools under these 5 domains which we will learn one by one. So how to unleash intrinsic motivation? So research has shown that if we tap into the sources of intrinsic motivation, it helps people individually as well as collectively to commit towards action which results in improvement. So this is the most important central objective is to activate people's agency, and motivation we often come across as the biggest barrier to change. So these are the 3 tools which are used to unleash the intrinsic motivation: public narrative, the motivational task design, and play and celebrate. So what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation is doing something for the inherent satisfaction that engagement in the activity provides. Okay. So it is basically it is related to a value of a person coming to your healthcare facility. So everybody has different values. So everybody comes with that value to the work, and that is what is the intrinsic motivation of that person. Whereas extrinsic motivation is nothing but doing something because it leads to a separate outcome like reward, recognition, or avoidance of punishment. It has nothing to do with the intrinsic value of that particular person. So if we want to unleash the intrinsic motivation, we need to create conditions for people to carry forward a shared cause on the basis of inherent value that one experiences in the activity. जैसे अगर कोई अच्छा कर तो मान लो मुझे अच्छा लगता है कि कोई पेशेंट अच्छा होकर जा रहा है, उसके ऊपर का स्माइल है तो मुझे सेटिस्फेक्शन देता है, मुझे जॉय देता है, वो मुझे है ना. सो दैट इज माय इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन कि ओके सो जॉय. So it is like everybody brings its own motivation. So अब सबका motivation तो अलग है, but everybody is coming forward to the hospital, to your institution with a shared cause. हम सब मिलके as a team, सबके motivation अलग अलग है, but we are working towards a shared cause. So what is that shared cause? It is related to nothing but the vision and mission of your organization. So that is an important asset in the improvement journey, that we should know the vision and mission of our organization, because that is our shared cause. So we'll discuss shared cause again. So what does intrinsic motivation generate? It generates creativity, generates increases the engagement, adaptive learning, and it leads to achievement and satisfaction. So public narrative is one of the tools which is used to unleash the intrinsic motivation, and it consists of story of self, the story of us, and the story of now. So why me? Why I am working in this health facility, say as a doctor or as a nurse? Why I am working this as a profession? What has called me to this profession? So that is the motivation I am having. So because maybe my experience, previous experience is like this. कि मेरा खुद का कोई relatives का harm हुआ था कुछ चीज से, so that has motivated me to work in this and help people. Okay, so that is a story of self. Whereas the story of us as a together, what is our shared value? Okay, so what are we going to achieve as a team? What are our experiences? So sharing our experiences, that is the story of us. Whereas story of now is what is the urgent problem ahead of us? What are we now dealing with? What is our strategy to work on that particular problem, and what actions we are going to do take in order to answer to that current problem? So that is the story of now. So sharing these stories, understanding each other's motivation, then leads to a shared purpose. That leads to urgency to act on the current problem. So that is how public narrative is important in order to activate the agency of self as well as agency of a team. So another tool is what matters to us, the hurdles and the SOAR analysis. These are the three tools which are also important to activate the agency, the intrinsic motivation of the people. So leaders should ask these questions when they sit to resolve any particular issue while carrying out the improvement projects. So what makes for a good day for you? What makes you proud to work here? When we are at our best, what does that look like? So this is a positive reinforcement. And then this sets the context for asking what gets in the way of a good day or what makes a bad day for you. So all these questions, basically the answer to these questions creates a sense of we, and that we are all together in solving this particular problem. So this is an example of Starbucks. They have some mission review cards. So the mission statements are written on cards and everybody carries that. And if they are involved in any particular activity or in any particular solution in solving the problem, they are told to just look at that card where the mission statement is written and try to relate that activity or the solution with the mission statement. If it is working towards the mission statement, accept it, otherwise just forget it. So this is how what matters to us is important in activating the agency of the people involved in improvement projects. And it builds the trust needed to identify the frustrations they experience during the workday. So everyone must feel that their ideas, their opinions and comments will be listened to before they can be open and honest. So what matters to us explores all these factors, and which leads to an open and honest conversations. So regarding hurdles, I will not discuss in details. I have put it in the group, but I will just tell you what is a hurdle is. Hurdle is nothing but a short get together sort of thing, say carried out at for a short period, say 10 to 15 minutes at a fixed time in a day by all the stakeholders involved in the day-to-day functioning of the hospital, say be doctors, nurses, maybe administrative agents or the maintenance agents and all, and they discuss all the problems of yesterday. They make a list. So everybody voices their opinions or their concerns, issues related to day-to-day management of the patient. For example, questions like, is there any concern related to endotracheal tube? Is there, can we take out the central line? Can we enhance the feeds? Or is there any safety issue like in the hospital? Okay. So similar type of questions are taken for discussion. Here everybody voices their concern, so everybody gets a chance. So that leads to like the person feeling that their opinion is valued. And next day, of course, we again meet for the huddles and discuss yesterday's problems, whether they are resolved or not. So you can make a board and they write down the all the issues on the board also, what are discussed in the huddles. So these hurdles are an important source of activating people's agency and in the improvement journey also. Now, SOAR analysis. The SOAR analysis is little different from what is a SWOT. Everybody know the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. This SOAR analysis actually focuses on only the positive and negatives are taken out. So what are our strengths? So when we are dealing with particular say projects and we feel that we need to activate the agency of people as a group, as a team, this is a very useful analysis we do at the beginning of discussing the improvement project. So what are our strengths? Why our organization is doing? What are we known for? What are our greatest accomplishments? What makes us unique? Okay. What are our strengths in the current situations? Okay. Why we are better than others? Then we discussed opportunities. So what are our opportunities? Okay, like for example, we teach in the developmentally supportive care. So introducing developmentally supportive care is an opportunity because that is going to improve our again results, outcomes. So these are our opportunities. What are our aspirations? Where do we see our organization say 5 years down the line? Hmm? How can we make a difference? What are we passionate about? These are our aspirations. And results means these are the tangible outcomes and measures that demonstrate you have achieved your goals and aspirations. So these are the measures which will tell us whether we are on the track of success or not. So how we are going to translate our vision into tangible outcome. So how do we know that we have achieved our goal? So this is a very important, very useful analysis. And this personally I have used it in my hospital and found that it works very well. So coming to the another uh, part of activating the unleashing the intrinsic motivation is the motivational task design. So what is this design? So design task involved in an improvement effort in such a way that it generates the people's intrinsic motivation and sustained commitment. So it is useful when you design a particular process or you design a PDSAs for testing. So you design the task in such a way that it leads to activation of the agency of people involved in that task. So they feel that their efforts are tied to a valuable outcome. There is a feeling of responsibility being shared. They are given freedom to make decisions. And at the end, when we succeed, we need to celebrate because celebration gives you the opportunity to reflect, to interpret, and honor and thank people. So this is the way we design the motivational task. So coming to the next domain, that is co-designing people-driven change. So all of us know that those most affected by the change have the greatest interest in designing the way the meaningful and workable to them. So अगर वो पार्ट ऑफ चेंज है ही नहीं, पार्ट ऑफ प्रोसेस है ही नहीं, तो उसे इतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं होगा. इंटरेस्ट किसको ज्यादा होगा? जो उस चेंज से ज्यादा अफेक्ट होने वाला है. Maybe the patient, the intrinsic stakeholders, and the extrinsic stakeholders like the doctors, nurses involved in the particular process. So these are the recommended practices that we will go through one by one. So in QI, we always test new ideas. And co-design occurs when people are design with instead of design for. Okay, ऊपर से हमने कुछ तो डिजाइन करके दे दिया कि चलो इससे इसको टेस्ट करो. That is not going to work. If we uh, together design, if people together design a particular change, a particular process, then you are likely to succeed more. Because those affected most by the change have the greatest interest in designing it. And this is nothing but all teach, all learn. So everybody has got authority to give their inputs, give their suggestions, and design a particular change. And this co-design occurs at all stages, right from discussing the name statement to designing the PDSAs and sustaining the change also. So it's all stages the co-design occurs. And the focus is on we, the internal and external stakeholders. So this co-design identifies who is involved, what is the problem or the solution, and how the implementation strategy and why it matters. I think this why is very important. Unless the people know why we are carrying out a particular change, okay, people will have less interest. The moment you tell them why the change matters, it automatically leads to their more involvement, more motivation to work towards the project. So that why it matters is very important and we must address it. So how to co-design? Become aware of bias. Everybody has bias. सबको लगता है कि ये particular idea काम करेगा नहीं करेगा, ऐसा करना चाहिए वैसा करना चाहिए. अगर कोई change हम introduce करते तो हर एक का अपना अपना नजरिया होता है. And that is going to affect how we design the test of changes. But we should not be judgmental if somebody suggests something. Okay. So we need to ask us ourselves 5 whys. So why did I assume that a particular suggestion is like that? Okay. किसी ने कुछ suggest किया है, तो why did I assume that? So if you ask that for questions, you will automatically get the appropriate answers instead of judging a particular suggestion. And also we need to take a pause, allow others to share their inputs before asserting our ideas. So that leads to co-design. That leads to involvement of everybody. So mapping actors nothing means it is nothing but, so you need to identify all the stakeholders in a proposed change. All those stakeholders have equal status, equal opportunity to provide inputs. They are the partners for improvement. I'll give you one simple example which I had experienced almost 1.5 years back. So we had a problem in our NSU that the sync culture in the basin culture was coming continuously positive for gram negative. Although our infection rate is pretty low, but even for us, 1 or 2 infections means an epidemic. So we were worried that one fine day we may land up in an epidemic of infection, sepsis in our NSUs because consistently we are getting positive culture from the sink. So we designed a project. We all the stakeholders were invited, and everybody's input was asked. So like from right Maushi to the maintenance person, to the admin, staff, doctors, the microbiologists, everybody was involved because everybody is a partner for improvement. So this mapping of actors is very important. Everybody's input is very important. So because we should give them from our attitude that your inputs are important. So that results in a better buy-in. And we could have many ideas from them. And finally, what we could figure out, there was a problem with the drainage, and so correcting that resulted in getting rid of that continuous positive gram negative culture from the sink. And this experience also helped me when I took over another project another NSU 1 year back, where there was a problem of rampant sepsis. So that experience helped me to improve sepsis, to reduce the sepsis there also. So that is the spread of improvement. So the basic important concept while getting improvement in that particular project was the mapping of actors was done appropriately. So there was a sharing, there was everybody's input was valued, and that resulted in sustained improvement. Coming to people driven aim statement. So this aim statement considers who is the team involved, who is co-designing with whom, the internal and external stakeholders, what is the aim, what is the measure, that is by how much, what is the time frame, how we are going to change the test, and what is the motivation behind that. So that motivation, the why is very important, because when people understand why, that results in better buy-in in the improvement projects. Coming to the next domain, that is co-producing authentic relationships. We all know that change is co-produced when people inquire, listen, see, and commit to one another, because that results in activating people's agency, and that is the central hallmark of IHS framework. So these are the recommended practices. We will just go one by one. So co-production treats people as assets and not burdens. It provides you the opportunity for growth and development. It results in building of emotional intelligence and capacity of all stakeholders to work together, and minimizes the distinction between producers of service and consumers. तो इसमें हम पेशेंट को भी इन्वॉल्व कर रहे हैं ना मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम को डिजाइनिंग प्रोसेस में. सो कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन इज देयर. सो ऐसा नहीं कि हम प्रोड्यूसर से और वो कंज्यूमर से. सो वी आर डिजाइनिंग टुगेदर. It gives real responsibility, the leadership and authority to everyone involved. So everyone in the system is, in the improvement project, is our leader. And it results in encouraging the use of human skills and experience to help deliver the solutions. So we all provide as patients, the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, internal and external, we share the problem. The responsibility also is shared to achieve the outcome. So co-production is fostered when people inquire, listen, see, and commit to each other and recognize the differences. The relationship should be transformational and not transactional. So what happens in transactional relation is the dominant person goes on speaking, and the less dominant is kept quiet. There is only tokenism. So nominal, we give authority to somebody, but that person is prevented from actual functioning. So that is the transactional one. Whereas the transformational means it is open to be transferred by each other. So like what we think we should do versus we want to learn from you. So see how you frame the question, how you discuss a particular issue. So that matters a lot. Okay. So the other person feels that he is a partner in this improvement project and not just a subordinate in the hierarchy. And authentic relationships will grow with the use of this particular domain. How to co-produce? So one-to-one meeting is one way of co-production. I'll give another one, my own example of this. So we had a CLAPSI project in 2018. One of my fellow was doing that. So वो करते वक्त हमने सबसे पहले हमारा रेजिस्टेंस था हमारे अनदर कंसल्टेंट से कि हमारे पास क्लाप्सी का प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है इतना, है ना. तो ही वाज रेजिस्टेंट एंड वाज नॉट फॉलोइंग जैसे स्टेप्स हमारे बंडल के, कैप नहीं पहनेगा, मास्क नहीं पहनेगा, नहीं मैं ये सीख गया हूँ, इससे कुछ मैटर नहीं करता वगैरह. So that was giving wrong message to everybody. Okay. So what I did is say I requested him, chalo let us have discussion together, let us find out. Okay. So that was the setup. Okay, what is our incident? What is your issue? Okay, we don't have a CLAPSI problem. So we said let us find out whether from the data. Say we'll sit at 2 o'clock after the OPD. Say for half an hour or so, we'll find out from the data what is our problem. So then we had honest conversations, sad questions. So I asked him to, since we have a database electronics, we could get the answers within minutes fraction, just clicking the mouse. So I said, see, we are not only reducing CLABSI, but we are like culture prone CLABSI. We are treating some of the patients as CLABSI, upgrading the antibiotics, even though cultures are either not sent or negative, but clinically and laboratory wise, we are feeling that is we're treating. And I feel some of these are unwanted for, and our antibiotic use probably we can reduce it. So, so that was the focus of discussion. And from the data, we could find out that yes, our culture as well as clinical CLABSI, what we are labeling as CLABSI was the incidence was 13 per thousand catheter days, and then so we discussed our infection rate probably can be decreased if we attend to that problem. And then there was a commitment with each other that, oh yeah, we need to set examples, we need to follow what are the steps we decide what is the bundle approach that we have decided. So that was a commitment I got from him, and that led to a reduction in resistance. So this is a one-to-one meeting, like. So another way to co-produce is to cultivate the habits of heart. So we must understand we were all together. There is no blaming or shaming ourselves or others. So we have a shared understanding. We have a shared purpose. The shared purpose will come every time because that is the purpose why we are working together. So it will come in every domain of change concept. So we must appreciate the value of otherness. So asking open and honest questions, that also leads to co-production. So we must ask what happened, how did you make you feel, what did you learn. So there should be no predetermined answer. We should be open and honest to all these questions and their answers. We must practice appreciative inquiry in co-production. So whatever we have had past successes, we must, whatever learnings we had from that, whatever positive experiences we had, we must share with each other. So that is a part of appreciative inquiry. Listen deeply. So if somebody is voicing their concerns or voicing their opinions or ideas, we must listen deeply. मोबाइल बंद करके बाजू में रखो, टीवी बंद करो, लैपटॉप बंद करो. Listen with concentration. Listen for understanding. Understand the emotions of that person. Understand the commitment. So that is how we co-produce. The another domain, next domain is distribute power. So we have understood that there are three power, but we are interested in the relational power, the power possessed by everyone, because everyone has got unique assets to bring about the change when the power is shared. So we'll just discuss about how to distribute power, the relational power, with the example of that surgical safety checklist example, which is world famous example, which I had put in the afternoon in our group. So this challenge was there in a big tertiary care hospital where daily average 50 surgeries were taking place. 700 staff was involved in the 50 surgeries which were happening daily there. And Dr. Michael Rose, who is an anesthetist there, he wanted to use the surgical safety checklist in order to reduce harm to the patients. So that was his intrinsic motivation, because he was the one central person who was observing all this since years together. And he felt that if we use the surgical safety checklist properly in 100% of the time, we will definitely reduce harm to the patients. Okay. So this was a change he wanted. His agency was activated, right? Who has the assets to create the change? So who are the stakeholders? The surgeons, the anesthesiologists, the nurses, the OT technicians. So what is their interest? What they want? surgeon wants to be in charge because he felt he is responsible for the outcome. Nurses and technicians wanted to speak on behalf of the patients because they also wanted to reduce the harms. So everybody was trying to contribute what is best possible a patient outcome. Okay. So what assets does the improvement work offer that they need or they want? So basically, what is connecting everyone? Everyone is connected to a shared purpose of improvement of outcomes. Okay. So if they create a forum to unleash the intrinsic motivation, if they do co-design and co-produce in authentic relationship, that is going to result in the best outcomes because they had tried all the other ways. They did training, they had mandates, but their rates of use of surgical safety checklist was hovering for around 30% for almost 2 years. And before Michael Rose decided to use this intrinsic motivation way. So what is this power we are discussing? So what is old power? Old power is like currency, है ना? Note. थोड़े लोगों के पास होती है ना? और it is that the power is pushed down. ऊपर सबसे ज्यादा नीचे कम. Commanded. It's a closed. वो limited लोगों के पास होगी. उसको distribute नहीं होती है. And it's a sort of transactional relationships. Whereas the new power is like current. Current generate एक जगह होता है. रास्ते में आते 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 सबको बिजली देते हुए हम तक आता है. Right? It is made by many. Pulled in. It's a shared one. It's open to everybody. And it fosters relationships. So we must understand the difference between these two powers. And we must embrace this new power. Okay, if we want to achieve the sustained outcomes. So, and distribute the power. So, the shared purpose is coming everywhere. So, what is the shared purpose? So, our shared purpose, our means who are the people who will be impacted by the change, who will need to be part of the change. Shared is what unites us. What are our value as a team? What is the vision and mission which as an organization we are working on? So that is our shared value. Okay. So what is the purpose? Why are we taking this? So for a particular improvement project, why are we taking this particular action? How does it connect with the things that really matter to us? So that is our intrinsic motivation. So if we discuss this shared purpose in advance, when we undertake any improvement project, that is going to improve our buy-in. That is going to motivate all of us to achieve the better outcomes. So what is the distributed leadership structure looks like? So no one person or subset of people hold all the power and accountability. The responsibility is shared among all the team members. Success or failure of one is going to affect all. Okay. And this distributed leadership is necessary to achieve a shared purpose. Of course, we need to clarify the roles, who will do what. So this is how the leadership structure looks like. So taking the example of the surgical safety checklist by Dr. Michael Rose. See, uh, he is in the center because his agency was activated. He initiated that project, but he alone could not do it. The mandate could not do it. The training could not do it. So what he thought that he discussed this with people, like-minded people who were intrinsically motivated like him. So what they decided that they will distribute this uh, importance of surgical safety. They will try to activate the agency of all the people. So everybody was like involved with 3 to 5 people, and in activating the agency of the 3 to 5 people. And finally, that led to activating the agency of 700 people. You can imagine that. And that resulted in a big improvement in the outcome, and their use of surgical safety checklist increased to 100%. That example I'm going to take after a few slides. So another way to distribute lead is to establish working agreements and seed power. So we need to create conditions for others to exercise their courage and power. So unless that system is not there, people will find it difficult to exercise their agency. So we need to decide what are the behavioral expectations to achieve our shared purpose amongst all team members. So irrespective of their hierarchy. So we need to co-create the agendas, co-facilitate the meetings, crowdsource the ideas, rotate the roles. For example, एक huddle का एक example है काफी very interesting example. So in one hospital in USA, they found that this huddle is working very well in their main hospital, third tertiary care hospital, and they wanted to replicate that model in their peripheral hospitals. And what they found was, no, it's not working there. So when they studied the huddles there, like how the structure of the huddles there, they found that in the structure of huddles, only one person was speaking, say 10 to 12 minutes or 15 minutes, and others were just nodding. So there was only one leader. Okay. So that was the main problem. So that is why the huddle was not working there. So what they decided was, so we will rotate the person who is going to speak. So they divided, they improved the structure of that huddle. They divided the roles. So 5 minutes, a doctor will speak 5 minutes, the nurse will speak 5 minutes, somebody else will speak, and then that led to sustained improvement. So rotating the roles is very important. That also leads to positive accountability mechanisms about the behavior. So and people appreciate this distribution of power, and the leaders also should appreciate people for exercising their power. Uh, so, so that is how we should have working agreements. And coming to the last domain, that is adapt in action. So this acting can be a motivational experience for people to learn and iterate to be effective. So adapt in action gives the people the feeling of autonomy, feeling of involvement, and that leads to activating their agency. So because action demonstrates people's courage and is an exercise of their power. हम लोग पीडीए से करते हैं. पीडीए से में क्या है? It's an opportunity for testing, learning and adapting. So we analyze, we learn from mistakes and then improve. Data is of course the soul of any improvement. So because the data gives you the clue, data gives you how what are your rates of improvement over time. So that leads to urgency to act. Uh, and of course, adaptation is the key. All of us know in scaling and sustaining. So this PDSA gives us the opportunity to feelings of autonomy, mastery, and teamwork. So we should design the PDSA. We should structure the PDSA in such a fashion that we distribute the leadership. We uh, design the PDSA so that we activate the people's agency, the intrinsic motivations. So that leads to teamwork and better outcomes. Because ownership is developed and that generates motivation and facilitates accountability towards improvement. Okay. So coach and be coach. So when we are in action, so everybody's input should be valued. So we should observe, we should gather data, we should find out what are the motivational or practical challenges. Have open and honest questions and discussions with people to solve the problem. Set out the action steps and do follow up with support. So the leader should be open, transparent, and listen to everyone involved. So outcomes are improved when efforts and processes are praised. So we should not only praise the outcome. We should praise people for their involvement, their efforts, the process. Okay. outcomes will automatically come. We should learn from failures, so so that we can adapt better. So there are certain tools like failure mode and effect analysis. So I'm not going to discuss that. And the pre-mortem. Okay, like a post-mortem, we should do a pre-mortem. I will discuss that. So embrace emergence means we should have a briefing and debriefing. Those who have attended NACE probably know better what is a debrief means. So debriefing may we ask us the questions like, so how do you feel? What went well? What do you feel could have been done better? So these are the questions which are motivating questions in debrief, and the answers to these questions will definitely help in our journey towards improvement, especially when we plan and study the PDSs. Okay, so this is pre-mortem. What is post difference between post-mortem and pre-mortem is post-mortem is done after the failure has already occurred. Whereas in pre-mortem, we do it in the planning phase itself. So post-mortem is done to identify what went wrong. So that's a little negative approach. Pre-mortem is we identify in hand what might lead to failure and address that. So that increases the chances of success. Okay. What who what is the benefit? Who gets benefited? So, so it's the project planner of the project and the participants are benefited by using this approach. So it makes us it's safe for knowledgeable dissenters. So अब कुछ लोगों को जैसे आपने कहा लैगार्ड्स होते हैं कुछ क्वेरीज होते हैं उनको रेजिस्टेंस होता है. So if we give them chance in advance to voice their concerns, so it leads to better buy-in, better accuracy in identifying the future outcomes. Okay. So planning phase में ही अगर हम project को improve कर पाए तो that's very good thing. Okay. So this is what is a pre-mortem is. Oh, sorry. This is another tool we use in NEST that is called crisis resource management tools. इसका एक example लेता हूँ मैं अपना खुद का. Few months back this incident happened. So there was a child which underwent some exchange transfusion and was appearing dehydrated. So while on rounds, I told the fellow that you give a bolus of normal saline to this baby. Baby appears dehydrated. So 20 ml per kg. So she told to the staff that isko bolus de do. And there was a change of shift. So the new staff came on duty and handover. And that was a newly joined staff, inexperienced. So the previous staff told in handover that इसको normal saline का bolus देना है, इतना ml देना है, okay, 70 ml, 3.5 kg का था baby तो. So and she went away. And instead of 0.9 normal saline, the new staff accidentally took the bottle of 3% normal saline, and she was injecting it. Almost 5-6 ml was given. When again during the round, the next doctor asked what you are doing. She said, I am giving bolus of normal saline, and she showed the bottle. And that was a 3% normal saline. So she was stopped. So fortunately there was no harm. बट अब इसमें ऐसा था कि इसको हम उसको ब्लेम कर सकते थे, उसको मेमो दे सकते थे, हमने ये नहीं किया उसको, है ना. वी एनालाइज इट फ्रॉम द ह्यूमन फैक्टर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. And after analysis, doing the root cause analysis, we came to the conclusion that the 0.9 normal saline bottle and 3% normal saline bottle are kept in the same place. That led to this inadvertent error. And this is a drug which should be kept at a different place where the red flag drugs are kept. So we adopted the change of shifting that particular drug from a common drug trolley to emergency drug trolley with a red flag. So this is by using this CRM principle of knowing the environment, use all available information, use cognitive aid, communicate effectively, establish. So all these things led to this sustained change, sustained improvement. Now, coming to the surgical safety checklist example. So I told you the rates of using this surgical safety checklist in that particular hospital in USA where Dr. Michael Rose was working was only around 30% for a long time. And this approach of psychology of change to unleash the intrinsic motivation by sharing the stories. So they shared stories. 25 साल साथ में काम कर रहे थे लेकिन एक दूसरे के उनको stories नहीं पता थे. Why they are there, what are their previous experiences. So that led to their unleashing the intrinsic motivation, co-production in authentic relationship. And we saw that diagram of distributing power. So सबको power दिया एनेस्थेटिस्ट या ओटी स्टाफ ओटी असिस्टेंट उन्होंने जाके बाकी लोगों को एक्टिवेट किया and that led to 100% use of surgical safety checklist. Even the design of surgical safety checklist, they designed changed it together by discussions because that was also a hindrance to them in using some of the elements they were not contextual. So they changed the design of these SSC according to their context. So they adapted in action also. Okay. So all this psychology of change domains led to successful use of 100% use of the checklist. Okay, this is a distributed leadership power. So the outcome was 100% use, mortality rate decreased by 35%. So the safety culture measures were improved. They also resulted in 80,000 hours of annual reduction in per case. Okay, so estimated lives saved were 500 per year. And this is the most important statement from that project. So this was the reflection. So what did they say? This helped us lead purposeful change amid a traditional culture of fear and domination. Before we had silos of expertise. So they were working in silos. Now we have a culture that is empowering to all involved. So they connected all the silos. Okay. Another one says, my biggest learning was how to influence without formal authority. So that is the distributed leadership. तो अभी सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट सवाल ये था कि ठीक है ये कंपोनेंट्स है हमारे पास टूल्स है क्यूआई के पीओसी के कंपोनेंट्स है how can I know that psychology of change methods are having the desired impacts on my improvement work वो कैसे काम कर रहे हैं हमें पता कैसे चलेगा okay so there are also measures so primary measures है कि you will find that there are higher change adoption rate so any change if you are introducing you compare yourself the adoption rates of previous projects and after introducing this POC components you will find that there are higher change adoption rates you will also find there is an increased susceptibility of change है ना हम QI tools यूज कर रहे हैं हमने चेंजेस भी प्रोजेक्ट में हमको पता चल गया बट जब इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एट अ स्केल प्रॉब्लम आता है तब हमारे सस्टेनेबिलिटी के इश्यूज आते हैं वाइड स्प्रेड अडॉप्शन नहीं होता है विद दिस incorporating the POC component you will find there is an increased susceptibility of change you will also find secondary measures like joy increased joy and satisfaction higher discretionary efforts you will find people engaging more and more okay higher resiliency lower burnout lower dropout है ना तो retentions आपके बढ़ेंगे staff के so these are the improvement measures so how you measure agency for example the percentage of team members that responds agree or strongly agree on a daily or weekly basis to a question like I feel I am able to contribute my knowledge and skill to advance our team's shared purpose. So if you ask this question, you will find that number of people answering in affirmative to this question that they will strongly agree will go on increasing once we incorporate these POC components in our improvement efforts. So how to measure a specific domain like intrinsic motivation? So you ask questions, how motivated are you to participate on a scale of say 1 to 5? You will find that more and more people will be giving you that highest level of motivation. So your scores of highest level of motivation will increase. For co-design, how involved were you in the design of this initiative? है ना? Again, if you frame this question and from a scale of 1 to 5, again you will find that the involvement in the efforts towards improvement will increase more and more. Co-production, how much do you feel that you are a part of something? Okay, so that feeling that I am a part of improvement, so that will also be enhanced. Distribute power, how valued do you feel? Okay, so previously suppose it was like a nominal leadership. Now there is a feeling of being valued more and more. So that answer will be different once you incorporate the POC elements. So for adapt in action, the question is how ready are you to adapt as needed? So you will find that the readiness to adapt is improved after the introduction of POC components. So this is how you measure the impact of psychology of change. Okay. So how you apply? So in co-designing, you design the measures with people affected by changes, what matters to them. So based on that, you design, you identify the biases around measurements and you data analysis. So for intrinsic motivation, you make measurement fun by incorporating play and celebrations. So you distribute power, you make the data transparent. So while adapting in action, only collect and track data used for learning. So fail forward as adaptations of measurement strategy occur. So for co-production, you share the qualitative stories to connect data to people's lived experience. So that leads to again increased motivation and co-production. So this is how you apply those psychology of change component. So what is the lesson? Psychology of change method will accelerate the adoption of quality improvement. है ना? हमने लोगों को 3 साल से हम सिखा रहे हैं QI के टूल्स, QI मेथोडोलॉजी. हमें ये पता करना है कि कितने लोग उसको सस्टेन यूज कर रहे हैं, है ना? एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हम लोग QI जर्नी में लोगों को ला रहे हैं. हाउ मच परसेंटेज ऑफ पीपल आर using QI as a sustained methodology for improvement. So if we incorporate this psychology of change into this QI tools, we will definitely find more number of facilities, more teams are sustaining the use of this QI methodology. Okay. Now these methods are commitment driven and not compliance based. So there is a commitment once you incorporate the psychology element. The POC cultivates people's agency to act. It increases the joy, the job satisfaction, and better outcomes. So it builds the capacity that serves as an ongoing resource for addressing other problems. So ये experience हम कहीं और भी use कर सकते हैं हम, even in personal life, right? So these are the lessons which the psychology of change methods provides us. So this is a very important statement as far as psychology and improvement is concerned by Edward Deming. People want to create value and are our fundamental source of value. So we need to move from systems driven by fear and extrinsic motivation to those driven by intrinsic motivation. So we must create a culture that respects people and treats them as partners and takes works and expertise of people. So very important statements. So friends, it's the time that QI community recenters the attention on every organization's greatest assets, that is its people. So we need to incorporate this psychology of change into our QI methodology, create a framework, and so that the facilities, our people, the QI community sustains the use of these QI tools, which leads to a sustained improvement in the outcomes. So thank you very much for your